Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Good. That's good. My name's Nora Scully. I am from San Francisco State University, and I work in the Disability Programs Resource Center. Today we're going to be presenting on accessibility and course design considerations for instructors and course designers using a learning management system, which is Moodle. At San Francisco State, we use Moodle. This is my colleague, Noelia Mendoza, and we collaborate working with the Disability Programs Resource Center and Academic Technologies. We're both instructional designers, and it's a really great collaboration that we've been able to create. My position was created from, I don't know if you know about the Accessible Technology Initiative of the 23 campuses of the CSU. The Chancellor's Office decided in 2005 we would have the ATI, the Accessible Technology Initiative, and my position was created as the Accessible Technology Training Consultant to develop training for that. And we found that, we got a lot of links and connections and all the information for faculty to learn about making their courses accessible, but it's not always top on the list, right? There's a lot of other things that you've got to do. And so by collaborating with Academic Technologies, they have sponsored a few institutes where people come in and are learning the tools that we've developed that are accessible, and then we can also have a conversation about accessibility. So it's been a really great way to filter that information. And today, we will be talking about, I'll address students with disabilities and what they have to do even before they get to the first click. Then we'll move into some simple course design strategies related to the course management of Moodle. And if we have time, we'll talk about cross-campus collaboration and some resources and have a little Q&A. So before the first click, I want to ask you, how many of you have had students with disabilities in your class before? Okay, so you have some experience in making your materials accessible. One of the things I like to bring up in the beginning is that the ADA, in its original intention, was civil rights legislation. And it was provided because can anyone fill in the blank? Provide equal access for all people to all spheres of life, but in our case, it's academics, right? So I'd like to start off and have you think about this throughout, is what does it mean to not discriminate against people with disabilities and provide equal access? So as we go through this, I want to talk about some of that. And first identify where we have come from, what is known. You as professors know that students have a right to ask for accommodations and services. Institutionally, we have those services set up. And students also know they have rights. So that's quite a long way when you also think about other countries and places who don't have the infrastructure set up in order to serve students with disabilities. And so what are the next steps? Providing the services. And that would be looking at our environments. How can we make the environments that we live in, work in, and as we progressively move online, make them more accessible? Just having your materials online, hosted online, makes them much more accessible. Not only to people who are blind, but people who are remotely. If you had chronic illness and you couldn't make it to class, you could access those things online. So just by doing that, you've opened it up to many more people. And so we're talking about shifting the environment, making it so the door can open so people can come through. And so I want to just, again, say what really creates an environment that is non-discriminatory for students. So what students have to go through in order to get accommodations, even though it's a civil right that's already been passed by the ADA, is they have to show proof of disability, they have to get eligibility verification. Are you familiar with this process at all? Yes, I see some heads nodding. So, and then they get referred. Part of my job is training students to use adaptive technology, so then they come to me and we talk about what they need, and then if they need their books converted, they go to another person to talk to them. So there's a lot of steps in order to get what they want, and how, you know, if we are creating environments that are already accessible, maybe it would reduce the amount of steps they would have to take, because we know just fulfilling all the requirements that you want them to fulfill for your class is quite a challenge in and of itself, you know, to just to be there. So, so some of the reasons that students may not seek out accommodations. So there might be students in your class who have not been referred, and so that's another, you know, plus to making things accessible. So, you know, the red tape that they have to go through, that whole process, fear of identifying that if they tell other students or tell you they have a disability, you might think they're less intelligent or less capable. And so, you know, just naturally, people want to avoid that negative stigmatism. And also there's a whole piece, I just forgot my thought. So just asking students to go through this process, is that discriminatory?
In a way.
In a way, yeah. And so, again, making our environments more accessible, reducing the need for them to have to ask for services allows them, because we're expecting that they come with sufficient knowledge to know about their disability, know what services are already there, for them to advocate for themselves and stand up and get what they want. And if I was just diagnosed with something, I don't think I'd know what all the services are, and it's quite a journey in and of itself finding out. So, with all those things in mind, I'm going to shift now to showing you a video. It's a 3-minute video of a student who I work with. She trains other students how to use JAWS. And so when you look at this video, the things I want you to be thinking about is, what are the similarities and differences between the way you navigate a learning management system and how she's navigating the learning management system? And so she's going to show you how she sets the settings in Moodle to adapt and help her screen reader, talk to her screen reader better. And then she's going to show you how she downloads and locates a syllabus. Within that, the way that she navigates through headings and through links and through combo boxes and through buttons, I want you to take note of that. And when she says, you know, the links are nice, and when they're nice and labeled, so she doesn't have to search, what does that mean? What does that mean? How does that translate to you and what you can do in your course to make it different? And I think Noelia will underscore some of those points. So let's see if the video will actually play. That would be so nice. Okay. Donna, can I make this bigger, you think, or should I just leave it this size? Full screen. Yay!
San Francisco State's JAWS trainer. I train students to use JAWS. Not only do I train students to use JAWS, but I'm a JAWS user myself. I will show you how, with IMR, you can set a JAWS, screen reader settings to IMR. So I'm going to show you that, and I'm also going to show you how I will find a syllabus on IMR. Okay, so I'm going to bring up a link list since I'm now in IMR.
Links list dialog. Links list view. Moodle LMS.
Okay, so I'm going to put my link, so I can get into my profile, so I'm going to hit enter for that. So I'm going to hit enter. Okay, now I'm going to get another link list.
Links list dialog. Links list view. iLearn 107.
Okay, then I hit use for edit, and we'll go back.
Edit profile.
Okay, so then I'm going to hit enter on that so I can get into the profile and change things.
iLearn colon menu.
Okay, so now I'm into my edit profile. I'm going to look for a button to show advanced so I can get to that setting. So then I'm going to use the combo box.
general email display.
Okay, so the thumbs up. I'm going to do that so I just go bring me this setting.
General email, general screen reader, advanced element, combo box.
Okay, so I'm right here. So I'm going to hit enter and you hit space bar to open up buttons again. That way I can update the profile.
Update profile.
Okay, so this is update profile. That's what we want. So I'm going to hit space bar on this.
Space. I love that state personal profile Grady edit profile visited link edit.
Okay, so now I've updated. The settings have been changed. So I'm going to now we're supposed to get back into the main island page to get out of this. So we hit let's get
links list dialog. Links list view edit profile.
I
love 107 enter. Grady visited link.
Okay, so now I'm back in the main. I don't know what this people log out, so I'm going to bring up random list to get to course.
Links list dialog. Links list view Grady 23 Grady.
Okay, so I'm looking for a course that they usually answer.
Moodle LMS accessible course design considerations.
Okay, so we hit enter.
Course Moodle LMS accessible course menu.
And it's really nice that all the links are nice and labeled, so I know what I'm looking for. It's very quick. I have the sense, which is really helpful. Okay, so now I'm going to bring up another list.
Links list.
Okay, for the syllabus. And what I did with that is since I know at the end of S and the next one is Y, I'm going to use first set navigation and hit SY just to find the syllabus.
Y syllabus Rosa 205 left parent MS Word document right parent. Okay,
so that's the syllabus. It's a syllabus Raza 205 Word document. So since I changed the screen settings, the screen reader settings to say yes, I added additional information to say Word document. If I didn't change the screen settings, it would just say syllabus Raza 205. It would not say Word document. So if the screen settings change, it gives me that additional information saying it's a Word document, so all I have to do is just hit enter on that, and then it will ask me if you want to open this or not. To have the links named properly and consistently, and that way people like me know that where it is and how to find it. So, hi, my name is Megan. I am actually JAWS trainer.
So in transitioning from accessibility, accommodations, and moving to course design, if we had more time, I would stop here and we could have a conversation about what you just saw, how that impacts you, and how you think it would change your course. But I think we're going to just move in and let Noelia bring up the Moodle site and underscore the points for seeking access for everyone, designing for diverse learning styles, identify and map your learning objectives to activities and assessments, and allowed for varied expressions of outcomes. Yes.
So that was somebody, she wasn't a staff member, but she was stimulating what students and disabled students would do.
She is a student. Yeah, she's a student, and she works as a student assistant, training other students how to use JAWS.
And she was showing us how someone using JAWS would navigate a course.
Right. Right. And so for her, it's all about bringing up the links and bringing up headings. And so making sure that your courses are structured in a way.
What percentage of your students use, because of, say, your vision impaired students use JAWS?
Well, it really varies. It depends on your disability. So you might use JAWS, but you also, the people who have low vision use Zoom text and other things. And a lot of the things that Noelia will talk about by setting things up in a logical manner, by using naming conventions, it serves people who are using things across the board. So I'm gonna move it to.
JAWS specific, I guess.
No, but we go to JAWS because that's kind of the structural piece. And so if you're designing there with structure, usually that structure translates into the bigger picture and serving more people, not just people with disabilities, but everybody. To be able to find things, having files labeled in a logical manner, it helps everyone, not just Megan.
Thank you, Nora. Okay, so I'm going to be flipping back and forth between the PowerPoint and Moodle itself. We call Moodle on our campus, we call it iLearn. So when I refer to iLearn, it's really Moodle. And we have also collaborated with City College and some other campuses that we currently collaborate with to host some pilots for them who want to investigate Moodle. Okay, so once the students actually finally get into their course, then they're going to come upon more obstacles. So one of them is the course design and layout, which professors can address. And second is, well, actually, the second would be some of the things that the instructors can do is to address some strategies within the learning management system and also the way that they manage their course. So constraints. We can't exactly control what learning management system is on the campus, what features it has, but we can certainly work within the parameters of that system. So that's what I'm going to cover, at least with Moodle on our campus, what we're able to do. And you can do this also with, for example, Blackboard. There's some consistent strategies that you can use. Okay, so again, simple, consistent layout. That's really important for all the students, not only blind students, but all the students. Hierarchical ordering, which I'll address once we get into Moodle. The use of Moodle styles for titles, topic, title, subtitles. Removing unused blocks or features. And then high contrast adjustable fonts and colors. Because students with visual impairments, they might need to increase the screen size and the text is blown up. And if you're using text that is, for example, has gradients, that may not be clear to them. So it's really important to have that high contrast text so that the background might be very light and your text very dark so that they can actually see what the words are. Keep doing this.
You can use the arrows. Okay.
And okay, so naming and labeling. Be very descriptive with your labels, whether they're assignments, titles, resources. Description is very important. Consistent file naming conventions. So making sure that you're labeling things in a very ordered and consistent way where, for example, you might have let's say your assignment 1, assignment 2, assignment 3, have it in some hierarchical and just very consistent order. Make sure that your labels match how you reference them, not only in the syllabus, but also in the classroom. So that when the student is listening to you in the classroom or online in Illuminate, they know what you're talking about. And they can find that item, they can do that search links in your Moodle course. Because that's what they're going to be listening for keywords and also looking at your syllabus, looking for keywords in the learning management system. Also inform your students of any new windows or pop-ups when you're linking to URLs, and avoid abbreviations. That way it's spelled out and they don't make mistakes when they're searching for something. Oops. I keep doing this, I don't know. I'm so used to my own computer. Okay, so more file naming conventions when you're naming your files, the file itself, like your PowerPoint, your PDFs, your RTFs. Make sure again that the names are clear so that the students can identify what that file is once it is downloaded onto their computer. So if it's syllabus, maybe biology 333 syllabus.rtf. Make sure you have that 3-letter extension so their computer can recognize what type of file it is. Sometimes students don't know what type of file it is, and this way they can identify it as well. Also, avoid redundancy in your title. So you want to be very clear again with the titles. So instead of having weekly journal for every week, make sure it's titled, for example, Journal Week 1, Journal Week 2, Journal Week 3. Because if they're looking for a list of links and you have 10 weekly journals, which one are they supposed to go to? That's very confusing. And I don't know why I keep doing that. I'm so used to it. Yes, there was a question?
On RTF or PDF, which one is the one that's the best for a blind student? I convert to all of them, but I'm trying to figure out what my PowerPoints are all in PDF. But I don't know that then somebody told me no PDF isn't good for a blind person either.
No, so the question was, what's better for a blind student, RTF, PDF, Word? Really it depends on your structure. So you want to make sure that you're using the style sheets. And I'm going to tell you that sometimes the PDF, it's quite a challenge sometimes to actually go through and check the ordering of the information, because you have to go back and check that. And then when you start complicating it with headers and footers and images, it starts getting a little bit more complex. And I would say if you start out, for example, in Word, the newer versions of Word should allow you to put in, for example, some alt text and other information like that. Okay, great question.
It's important to use Adobe's product, right, the professional to convert docs to PDF. Because what happens sometimes is if you use a tool that doesn't save the structures, then you end up with an inaccessible PDF at the end, even though you started right. Yes, I do have a professional by Adobe Creator, and I teach computer science, so I feel like I should know this, but I just don't. You know, I put it out there as RTS, I put it out there as .doc, and I put it out there as PDF. Sometimes I think that gets confused too.
Yeah, let's just reiterate for the online audience what's the conversations around what's the best file format. RTF is definitely rich text? Rich text, yep. That is really simple and pared down. Sometimes blind people want different formats. When they come to our office, they will ask for different formats. A PDF can be made accessible, like Uda is saying.
With Adobe Acrobat Professional,
right,
which has special accessibility tools in it for you to actually check your document and also add some of the ordering.
But it's a little complicated process. I mean, at a basic level, if it's a scanned image, it's not accessible at all because it's a picture. But if it, so and Noelle is going to show you some resources to our Access site that would lead you through this information. We could talk more later about the pros and cons, really, of different files.
Because I can think about it, and I've tried, but it's trying to balance if you're doing it right or wrong.
Yes, balance is just, I mean, we have so many options, and balancing it is quite an act. But let's move forward, and we do have some resources that we can lead you to.
If you're at community college, especially in California, we have the high-tech training
Yes.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
Standard accessibility stuff, functional alternate text for images. So it's not good enough to, for example, if you have an image of an apple, to just say apple. What is the function of that apple? Is the apple supposed to signify that these are the objectives is that the section that's tagged to be where the objectives are located? What's the apple for? So it's not good. What I'm saying is it's not good enough to have a picture or an image. What is the function of that image? So being very descriptive with that is also important. Also, the information conveyed with color should also be conveyed without the use of color. That's really important. We've seen a lot of instructors trying to make their course look very fancy, colorful, color-coded, so that the sighted students could actually find things quickly, but that can be a big barrier. So,
do you think that one site really helped sighted students find things more easily, or was it a little confusing to have so much going on as well?
Well, we have different variables. Some students have different types of color blindness, and then other students, it just made it just way too, I would say, busy for them. So you can do other things. You can even use icons, but make sure, again, those icons have the alternate text so that students could easily look up, okay, this is the list of to-do items for the week, so that they can easily find them. But just making sure that whatever information you have with color is also conveyed without color. So for example, if you said, well, all the items with a red dot next to them are going to be on the test, then the students who can't see red, then they don't know what's going to be on the test. So yes, there was a question.
Yeah, I'm a visual arts teacher and instructor, and trying to make, I'm just running into a lot of balancing acts between what is appropriate for my sighted students and one of my visually impaired students. Just trying to adopt, not because visual arts students who are sighted expect a certain look and a certain quality of image.
Yes.
And then it sounds like it's confusing to the impaired.
So we have an instructor who is in the design and arts industry. So yes, students who are in design, of course, you know, they're very much impacted by how the visual design of anything that they're looking at is. But again, you want to make things not cluttered, and sometimes not become a barrier for them to find what they want. So as long as it's very clear structure, again, hierarchy is important. Avoiding clutter, which I'll go back in a minute.
But you can make it beautiful, but I can turn off the CSS so I can get what I want. You know, so if you're creating a document where the graphics lead the document, you would put alternate text in those graphics so your students would know. And maybe on the first day of class you would tell them, we're leading with pictures. So your blind student would know to pull up the graphics list rather than a links list to lead. But you can also, if you want, in terms of visual art making, there's a whole history of blind artists that you could tap into as well. So, but coming back to Moodle, think about that example of Megan. She's not seeing any of that. She's got tasks she needs to fulfill. And so she's fulfilling them, and it still can be beautiful. You can still make it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to move on to Moodle. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm in Moodle now. And
Faculty view or the student view?
This is the faculty view, thank you. So let's see, this window keeps, here we go.
Should we maximize it?
Yeah, I'm going to maximize it. Oops. Why does this keep doing that? Okay. I'm not sure why it's bouncing back.
I don't know why it's bouncing back.
It keeps doing this.
Is she answering the question?
Yes.
Okay. Used to say.
So we're just making sure we can see more of the screen.
Yeah, and which
So I need
screen
to
is it?
go all the
This
way.
one?
This one. Okay, thank you. Okay, so here we're inside of Moodle. We're already inside of a course. Now, basically everything in your Moodle course is almost a link. So everything from your cookie crumbs at the top to your login information to every block that you have on the side, and then finally the main course information that's in the center. Almost everything is a link except for labels, for example, or images. So imagine a blind student going through, or even a sighted student. Everything's a link, and you can just accidentally click on something, and there you go. So some of the things that we were talking about is hierarchy. So one of the ways for you to set hierarchy is, for example, when you add a label, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn editing on. So that's the button at the top right. So when you have instructor access, you can turn editing on so you can make changes to your course. And when you add a label would be any text that the students would be able to see right away without clicking on anything. So you use them for titles, for example, or small descriptions. But you would add a label, so you insert a label, and once you can, for example, put in the course title, But as an option, what you get is you can make that label and add heading styles to it. So you just select your text, and from your menu, the drop-down menu for normal, here's where you can select your heading. So heading 1 would be the title of the course. Heading 2 would be, for example, one of your main titles for your topics. So those would be the topics. And then heading 3 would be subtopics. So like you're reading a book. So the title of the book is heading 1. Your chapters would be heading 2, and then some sub-chapters or subtitles would be some of the other topics you're covering in the chapters. So that's how you set that. And in Moodle, it actually will, the styles will have, for example, that since they're in hierarchy, heading 1 will have large font, okay? And visually, that it gives you the benefit as well.
Noelia, you could change the color of that as well, yeah?
You can change the color, but again, contrast is really important. So if you are going to change color, highlight your text, and you want to avoid using one of the lighter colors because I have a light background. So you want to stay in your dark shades. But again, your color, you should avoid using a color as a way to convey something necessarily, unless you have the equivalent for your students where they know that that particular text or area, they know what's going on with it without the color, without the use of color. Okay, once you do that, then you just save it, and Moodle will then apply your settings. Okay.
Does Moodle now work with all the browsers?
I can't say all the browsers because they're using different browsers. Yeah, Moodle, we don't recommend using Safari with Moodle because we've had different problems with it. But the question was, can Moodle work with all the browsers? No, it's not recommended. And in fact, you get different views with some of the browsers. I'm going to move on because we're running out of time.
Yeah, that's not the right time. But
okay. Well, I know we're running out of time. But whether the clock is working here or not. Okay. Other things that you can do is these Moodle courses get really busy, visually busy. There's way too much on here. So if you're not going to use something, delete it. So for example, the blocks that we have on the side that give you different functionalities. For example, the latest news, I personally don't like to use that when I teach. So you just click the X to delete it, and you're able to delete that from your course. So again, what you are not using, delete it. Make your course Zen rather than, make it very simple rather than too much clutter. Okay? All right. Other things that you can do with your course, again, let me just review some of the things that we had talked about earlier, is I just want to introduce you also to when you are labeling, again, don't use abbreviations. So here I have syllabus 205, wrap up 205, fall 2010. When they download it, the actual file itself also has a descriptive name. So do you notice how the name is also descriptive? That's a 20501. So, we're making sure everything's described. So when they're downloading it, they can identify it from their download folder or from their desktop, wherever it is they're downloading your files. With Moodle, in the center of the course where most of your documents and resources and activities are located, it's going to get really long. So this is why we're saying have hierarchy, have some organization in your course, because they're going to get really long. If you have 20 weeks, you're going to have 20 different topics, 20 different weeks with tons of resources and activities. So for example, here we have the title, week 1 topic, course overview. We have a list of learning objectives for the week, and we also have a to-do list for the students so that they know what they're supposed to do that first week. And if you follow just consistently throughout applying the same thing, then they know what to expect.
I like the way you did week 1 to-do list, week 1 reading. So then they would know, even if they get caught up in all the different weeks, you would know where you are, right, Noria?
Yes. So that they can find it. Again, sometimes they need to go through hundreds of links, and how are they going to know where they're going to be at?
But even for sighted students too, right?
So if you notice, so for example here where I have the I Learn Moodle technical recommendations, it does say the link opens in a new window, so that the students know that they're going to be navigated to a new window, and they might need to go back to the learning management system. So it's good to give them a warning as well. Okay, and before I had also mentioned that sometimes you have some repetitive assignments. They're similar assignments, like for example reflection assignments you might have with your students. So instead of using redundant titles such as just weekly reflection, instead use week 1 reflection, week 2 reflection, so that they know where they're going to go at 2. Okay. And I'm going to go back up. All right, so,
like 3 weeks available, and then, tell you that it's open for those 3 weeks, and then you can turn it off if you keep that.
That's a smart strategy to use when you're managing your course. So the question was, can you limit the number of weeks you show to students at a particular time? Yes. The way you can do that is that Moodle allows you to actually hide a complete week. So if you look at the eyes to either show or hide, you can hide everything that is located in a particular week or topic area. So if I were to click on the eye for the entire week, it hides everything in week 1. So Moodle allows you to actually see what the students are seeing. At the very top right, you can switch your role to student, and it actually shows you what students are seeing. So of course your management editing privileges are removed for a few minutes, but if you see that now topic 1, none of it is available to your students. So yes, you can simplify your course by just letting your students just see 1 week at a time or a few weeks at a time instead of the entire course.
Lillian, what do you think of best practice of telling your students about the logic of how you are using the course and what you're hiding and showing and what you're using? What do you think of that?
Regarding, well, I'm going to touch upon that a little bit later on in just a few minutes, okay? So I have 5 minutes left here. So I'm not going to take any more questions until the end because I am running out of time. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and just turn editing on again as an instructor. And then I'm going to go ahead and show, I'm going to click the eye icon or the show icon so that the students can see those items in week 1 or topic 1. You can also hide individual items. So you see those eyes that are closed throughout my course here. You can actually hide or show items individually as well. So you do have a lot of control in your course actually. All right, so now we're going to talk about actual communication with your students, quiz strategies, and also indirect communication strategies. How we take care of the quizzes when we're working with students is that we recommend the instructors to use 1 of 2 strategies, and we often get the request for students who need an extended amount of time to take a quiz, so they might need twice the time to take the quiz. So either one option that we use is that the student is taking a parallel quiz it's the same quiz, but it's a copy of the main quiz, and then they're given a password. And that quiz has the extended amount of time. And then the professor just goes back and enters the resulting score into the gradebook. It can do it automatically, but if you don't want to confuse all your students that they see 2 quizzes in the gradebook, then you probably want to hide that one quiz that perhaps one student is taking, and then just enter their end result score for the regular quiz in the gradebook. The other option is to have the student either take the quiz before all the other students or after the other students, again with the password. And then we actually have a third option, which is that they go to the DPRC center and they have someone helping them with the quiz. Sometimes they need the quiz read out loud to them. They need different services. So that's the third option.
The Moodle allows you also to put the student in a separate list. Like the time would not be an issue for that student.
Yeah, but so the question is, does the quiz, can the student be placed into a quiz that does not have a time limit?
Yes.
On our campus, we don't have that. So, I mean, as far as either you do it for all the students or not.
I know that in Moodle there is a list that is used.
Yeah. So your quiz options, here I'm going into a quiz and I'm editing the quiz. Some of your quiz options here are for you to designate a time. Although you can make it without a time limit, the thing is that you have to use one of the strategies where either they're taking the same quiz, it's a parallel quiz by themselves that the other students aren't taking, then that one could be made without a time limit. Or they have to take it before and after, and you just change your time limit for them. Okay? So here's the time limit. Okay. Looks like I have just 1 minute left here. Okay, so no more questions, just so I can get quickly through this. All right, so as far as direct communication or indirect communication, you have, the system is pretty smart. So if you have quizzes or assignments with due dates, you can have this block called upcoming events, and it'll list the due dates for the students. So it's really great if you give them a tour of your course. How are you organizing your course? How do they find the due dates? One tip is for them to go to the assignment activities block on the left-hand side that you have here. And that'll give the students all the due dates. So they'll get a similar list with all the due dates for all their assignments. That's one way they can keep up to date with what's going on. You can also communicate with your students via the news forum. There's also a block that's connected to the news forum called Latest News, and it broadcasts out to there. You also have your calendar that also lists what's coming up. So anything that's highlighted, for example, here, if they move their mouse on it, it lists all the items that are due that day. Okay, and then finally, if you are communicating with your students, you also have the ability to have more direct communication through tools like the quick mails where you can communicate with students individually as a whole or in groups. You can send them emails, and this will send emails to them directly. You get a copy of it. This is a tool that we have on our campus, and you can also send it to groups. So,
you specifically developed this, or was it in the relaunch of Moodle?
This version is our version, but we had changed the quick mail from something that already existed. But we added some things that we knew that we wanted on our campus. So it's customized. Yes. So as far as, I just wanted to emphasize that it's really important to communicate with the students. How are you going to identify for them? How are you going to communicate with them? How are they supposed to communicate with you? and also where they can look up their due dates, where they can submit their files. So let them know, give them a map of how they can navigate through your course, either visually or just let them know how you organize your course. If you're only going to post a PowerPoint presentation, don't have them expect that you're going to provide quizzes or other things on there. Let them know what they're supposed to expect so they can look for it and find it by giving them clear naming conventions to look up. I mean, use clear naming conventions so that they know what they're looking for. So we're going to move on, and
I think we're done.
We're done? Okay.
Do you have a link to your website?
Actually, what we have, I have two websites here. One is the iLearn Access Tips, and this is on our atcentral.sfsu.edu. And we, yes, yeah. And also we have our SF State site for access as well. And that's also great. That's actually the best resource because it lists everything on there. And this is www.sfsu.edu access. And if you go to instructional materials, it'll also link you to the Moodle accessible tips guide. So here we have everything for instructional materials, including course streaming, podcasting, and iLearn course management system, Moodle.
She wanted the link to that.
So it's yes, www.sfsu.edu access.
If you just Google Access SFSU, that'll be the first link that comes up.
Thank you, and I'll take some questions in the hallway so that we don't hold up anybody else. There's not anyone else? Okay, so it's lunchtime. Thank you. Yes, but actually this one goes to it as well. Oh, yes? Yeah, this last one here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have cards up here too.